So you don't have to really remember this. We've done it for you. But I am giving this to you so you somewhat know, why is all this stuff on here? Well, it's because this is what TCEQ requires you to do. Now, contested case hearing and affected party status, while two different activities, are married. So when you file, you are asking for a contested case and you are requesting to be named an affected party. They are married together, all right? So, what is an affected party? Now this is straight out of TCEQ land, and you look at it and go, oh gosh, this just, it kind of boggles your mind. But this is their definitions. And I had to, ooh, my typo didn't get fixed, did it? It did in one place and not the other. Okay, an affected person is one who has personal, not justifiable, justiciable. I had to listen to Google's pronounce it because I couldn't. It's this word, justiciable. Basically, justicial, that's correct, justicial. Basically what this means is that it's a legal term that says that it is a legal interest. That's basically what it means. That you have a right, duty, privilege, power, or economic interest affected by the application. This interest is not common to the general public. Meaning, if you live within the 5-mile radius, but I live in New Braunfels, I'm going to be considered the general public. However, if you live next door or across the street, you do not fit in that general public umbrella. You have a increased or more affected interest. Affected persons, here are the conditions. Whether the interest is claimed under law, the distance restrictions or other limitations imposed by the law or affected interest. Let me address distance. There is nothing in the regs that say they must consider everybody within X amount of distance. We generally see 1 mile. And we see 1 mile from the crusher. And the reason why is the crusher is the only thing under TCEQ air permit that is being, how would you say, Dawn, monitored, or it's the ground zero for measuring the dust. They don't measure dust anywhere else or from anything else. So when you look at this map shows you where the crusher is going to be. So when you're going to be writing, you're going to give the distance of your home or property line from the crusher and from the fence line. Both are important. Yes, sir, I saw your hand raised.
Is this a mobile crusher?
This is not a mobile crusher that I'm aware of. It's not portable, is it?
Yeah, it's portable rock crusher is what they said in the permit.
Yes.
Don?
They are portable. They're not going to move this thing. They move it one time and we dig a hole and we take it down to an elevation and then we run trucks from all the other parts of the mine.
And their permit stipulates that they can operate on a wind crusher for 80 years, or, well, is there potential?
As current.
Is there potential for a crusher to be located farther south on the property?
Yes. The answer is yes.
The trucks and all of the operations equipment not, they're not even considering.
No, I'm talking about an additional crusher in the future. Can one be located, can they have another crusher on the property at a different location that would then bring somebody else into that affected radius or what have you?
Yes.
That's my question, because they have, I heard they have something like a 70-year lease or an 80-year lease.
Well, they bought the property and the expected lifetime of the project is 80 years.
Yeah, 80,
But they have to be re-permitted every three,
I'm sorry,
That could be re-permitted.
re-permitted every 3 to 5,
5 years.
5 years. But the answer is yes. We know that there are holes where they plan to mine. There's a picture of it back there. They could add another crusher, absolutely. So the distance restrictions, don't worry where you fall in the distance restrictions. Take this map, you can look it up on Google, figure out where you are in relationship to the crusher and to the nearest property line, because you're going to address both points. And when we see the example I gave you tonight, you're going to see why both points are important, all right? So distance is one of the fighting tactics. Whether a reasonable relationship exists between the interest claimed and the activity regulated. That's pretty self-explanatory that if you're within a 5-mile radius, I would say that there is an interest because dust travels. We all know that. Likely impact of related activity on the health and safety of the person or on the use of the property. Very key words here. You can take this and say, how is this going to affect the health and safety of my family members and the use of my property? You can pull that right out and start writing how this is going to impact those 3 things. The likely impact of the activity on your natural resources. We all know in this area, water. So you can start addressing water. I am aware that there are some people in this room who have already run out of water this year from their well. Had to redig. He's waving his hand. And that's just drought. And all the other pulling of the water coming out for subdivisions and et cetera. But you can speak to the natural resources that are going to be likely affected. So that's how they define an affected party. So how do I outline that I am an affected party? So let's do this real quick. I want you all to pull this out. I'm going to go put it on the screen so we can walk through this, okay? Hold on 1 second. There we go. Liz, could you come up here and scroll down when I need to? Okay, this is what your template is going to look like. This is going to get put on the web so you can download it and put in whatever you want. What will be hard-coded is the applicant's name and permit number, so you don't have to remember that. But remember, they said, here's the things that you have to have when you request a contested case. So you've got to have your name, the address, city, state, zip, applicant's name, permit number. You're going to state a request for contested case and a person status. And you're going to say, I, Sabrina Hauser Amaya, request a contested case regarding this permit number and to be named an affected person for the issues noted below. the first thing I'm gonna do, because the first question they're asked is, how close are you to the quarry? Scroll down a little bit. So what I did, and we'll be happy to put some of these maps up for you. Or if you're really sophisticated, you can go to Google and figure it out yourself. I had to call David today and say, give me this. So there's the quarry, what it looks like. And I made up where I lived. So, location of requesters, affected property, home, business. Use the map above to be sure address the distance of your property from the crusher and the nearest fence line. So, what I did is I took and put an X where the crusher is located. And it said, my property is located approximately 5,000 feet from the proposed Vulcan crusher as noted by this dot right here. And 500 feet from the fence line as noted by this dot right here. During the summer months, and this is going to be information we're going to put on the website and we can help you with. My home is located directly in the path of prevailing winds blowing from south to north. Coming right up here, right through here, okay? Particulates from the quarry are going to be blowing into my yard. They're invisible to the naked eye. You're exposing me to silica dust. And they can be carried on wind currents for long periods of time, up to 30 miles for the big ones, up to hundreds of miles for the small ones. This is language that you all can use. You can copy and paste this all day long, all right? I know that it sounds very technical, and we're going to give you some information about how to know where the wind patterns are during a particular time of month. But what we're pointing out is because they are only monitoring the air or the dust coming off of this, they are not monitoring anything else. The conveyor belts, the trucks within, going from one blast site to the crusher, the loaders. They are not measuring the dust from anything else. They are not measuring the diesel emissions coming from all of these trucks and all of these, what did you call them, Don, yesterday?
Sorry,
What did you call these things, these big,
Machines inside the quarry.
the machines inside the quarry?
oh, it's a carcinogenic generating industrial complex.
Carcinogenic industrial generating complex. I love that. So everything in and around is generating carcinogenic emissions. So I basically said, here's where I am, and for you to say that these particulate matters are not going to go past the fence line is ludicrous. But that is what they limit the permit to. Okay, scroll down a bit. We're going to give this to you, so don't, and all of the things will be hyperlinked. So don't worry about writing all this down. We're going to give it all to you. So I'm going to detail how I'm going to be adversely affected by the proposed facility or activity in a manner not common to the public. So I made up a story. Now, what you're going to be thinking of, and remember it needs to be individualized and personalized, what are the 2 or 3 things that is going to be adversely affected by, adversely affect you by your location of this quarry? So, I made this up today, but I think it may prove the point, and there may be goat farmers around here, but I think it will make sense to say, I moved my family here 20 years ago. We raise show goats, dairy goats, we buy and sell goats. My average herd is about 100. All my land that I purchased is for grazing and for grazing lands of these goats and for me to raise them, and that is how I earn my living. As expressed above, the prevailing winds much of the time blow right across my grazing lands. There's invisible carcinogenic dust blowing onto my grazing lands, into their water, into their feeding troughs. And that silica dust is going to be eaten by them and drunk in their water. So we will surely suffer some problems as a result of this long term. While specific studies regarding silica dust on goats is not readily available, there are findings in regards to cattle. The germs mentioned here are also associated with goats. So I went out and found an example of how silica dust affects cattle. And what it does is that it gives them pneumonia. Very expensive to treat, I would imagine. So I am saying you are going to put all this dust over my property, which you are supposedly supposed to control, and I am going to be penalized for it. Okay, scroll down. By allowing this industrial carcinogenic complex, use these words, copy them all you want. There's going to be negative impacts to my livelihood in the following ways. I will no longer, in good conscience, have dairy goats whose entire ecosystem for milk production could contain traces of silica from which has been ingested and henceforth be in their milk. Makes sense, doesn't it? I currently sell our goat milk to local cheesemakers, and in 2017, I had a net profit of $30,000 on this product alone. While you may say, well, this is your problem, that you're not going to do this anymore. You're going to give up $30,000, that's your problem. I state, I will report to TCEQ and hold TCEQ and Vulcan accountable for every particle of fugitive dust that comes across their fence line. To be so bold as to suggest that this is only a nuisance when it leaves the property for more than 30 seconds in any 5-minute period is ludicrous. Now, this 30 seconds in 5-minute period, that's right out of the permit. That is how TCEQ determines that the dust is a nuisance. Is that not crazy? This is their measurement, 30 seconds in a 5-minute period. I also go on to say that my vet bills are going to increase because it's likely to become more of a problem. I'm going to have more goats that are going to be sicker because they're going to be smelling this or breathing it in, drinking water, eating grazing lands with dust. So my vet bills in 17 were $8,000. It's likely that they're going to increase due to silica dust medical issues. Just like the humans who undoubtedly are adversely affected, livestock of any sort will have similar problems. And I found this, and that's on our website. That is a medical white paper that states very clearly the associated medical conditions related to silica dust. Okay, scroll down. List several material or relevant disputed issues of fact or questions that were raised during the response to comment. All right. This little piece of paper that looks like this is on the back of your flow chart. This is a response to comments from a standard air permit. So don't use the language per se because ours is not a standard air permit. Ours is a new source review. But I want to give you an example of what TCEQ responds to. So what I did is I go, okay, I take issue with response number 3. So when you receive the RTC, it'll have comment 3, response 3. So when you start responding, you personally pick out what responses you take umbrage with and that are disputed questions or issues of fact. So what I did is I said, I take issue response 3, which suggests the applicant must comply with this law, which prohibits nuisance conditions. All right, so are you seeing how I'm building my case and I'm tying it together? Now, this document, this stuff right here, I have, and we're going to put on our website so that you can use. But we are very aware that Vulcan Materials compliance history is very poor. They will disclaim it all day long, and so will TCEQ, but they have been operating silently for a long time, and TCEQ unfortunately allows it. So what I did is I took the data that we have that shows all the violations that Vulcan has received. So if you're telling me that Vulcan is not going to engage in practices that are going to create nuisance conditions when they have all these problems, how in the world am I to believe that? That makes no sense. That's a statement of fact. Does that make sense how that works? We are going to give you this document that will be online. You are welcome to use it. It is very well written, and we have more. I'm waiting for somebody to give me more. All right, scroll down. So this is all the violations that I am saying. How do I trust that no nuisance conditions are going to happen when there are over 60 violations here? At one plant, 1604 Vulcan plant. Then I go on to say, under the Texas Clean Air Act, TCEQ is responsible for safeguarding the state's air resources from pollution by controlling or abating air pollution or emissions of air contaminants. That's TCEQ's job. That's a statement of fact. I question how TCEQ and by their permittees' poor compliance record can uphold can uphold no nuisance conditions when blasting, conveying, loading hauling trucks, graders, front-end loaders, all emitting diesel emissions, as well are generating dust. How are they going to not have nuisance conditions when it's not required to be measured? Just boggles my mind. Scroll down. So, as an affected party, I expect TCEQ and Vulcan to earn my trust. TCEQ, you need to be charged with protecting. Here's your charge right here, that you vigorously enforce it. And Vulcan, you demonstrate that you're going to be a good neighbor. And here's how I want you to do it. I want you to put air monitors on the fence line. They're not required to do that right now. But TCEQ can ask them to do it. I want you to put fence monitors up. I want it to be monitored and by a third party, independent. I want Vulcan to pay for it. The distance between monitors to be TBD. And I want there to be a live feed that I can go online anytime and see what those monitors are spitting out. And if a monitor becomes non-compliant, the TCEQ immediately dispatches an investigator. Because usually what happens is that we are the ones that have to report the violation because it's raining dust. By the time TCEQ gets out here, where's the dust gone? It's gone. It's either settled or it's blown away. So what I'm telling you is when or if this thing happens and you have to report, you start taking pictures. You say, here's the date, the time, and here's the picture, and here's where it is. You start collecting your own evidence. I also want a monthly report to all of Comal County citizens outlining the summary of their compliance or no compliance, how TCEQ plans to handle the violations and by what date. I don't want it to take 6 years to fix something. Fix it now. And I want the air monitoring readings to be, when they're out of compliance, I want them to be classified in the correct way. When you go look at compliance history, you will see it will either say unclassified or general. You have no idea what the violation is. That's how they get away with their rating being higher than what it should normally be. Because an unclassified or a general complaint has a lower value than air, dust exceeding the fence line for 30 minutes. So I want it to be classified correctly regarding failure to comply with emission thresholds. We are finding all sorts of things how they get around the corner of things. I saw a hand raised somewhere. Yes, ma'am.
Two questions.
Yes.
First, do y'all have data available to us on this site for the effects of homeowners' wells, how deep the wells are, and in correlation with the water that Vulcan uses to keep the dust down, recycled water, supposedly? And also, do you have any results that we can reach out to? I know if I go on and research Vulcan, I can find it somewhere. But if where they have affected foundations by their blasting within a 5-mile radius.
Water, in terms of everybody's wells around here, I don't have that data. That's going to be individualized data.
Okay.
What we have been suggesting to people is twofold. Have your wells checked, see where the level is now. We're in a period of drought, so it's going to be a little bit skewed. But see where it is now and monitor it. Secondarily, in regards to foundation blasting impact, the other suggestion we are making is that go get your house appraised right now. Take a picture of every nook and cranny, every corner. Take pictures. And once the blasting starts, and if you see that hairline kind of coming across your concrete floor, then you've got post, pre, and post. Okay? Any other questions as I read through this?
The other one I had was based on this map, and I think you alluded to it, but is there some way we're going to be able to click on that and click on a map where our home is, that'll tell us the exact area, or how are we going to come up? I know based on where the quarry is, I'm within the 2.5 mile, but now based on this pressure and fence line.
Right. I think we could probably work on that. I don't think that that's going to be difficult. I'm looking at my IT guy, and he's not looking at me because he's not know.
So currently on the website, we do have distances to each neighborhood within the 5-mile radius. So that'll give you a rough idea of how far you are if you want something a little bit more exact.
I think we could probably find out the GPS coordinates of the crusher, right? And if we can give you the GPS coordinates of the crusher, put it into Google, it'll tell you right where it is, and then you draw a line to your house. And when you draw that line, it'll tell you how far.
And the fence.
We'll have to figure out how to instruct you to do that.
We'll work on that.
We will work on that. Can you write some of this stuff down?
But the fence line will change depending on where your property is. Because the fence line I will be going will be the fence line closest to my property.
Yes.
Not.
Take the yes. Don't worry about going to the southern tip or the northern tip.
Right.
Path of least resistance, least distance.
I'll figure it
But we're gonna work on that so that we can help you. Here's your GPS coordinates. Plug them in and then draw a line to your property. Okay? All right, any other questions? Is this helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, go back to the PowerPoint. So, this template is going to get put online. Just go to from current slide. Look, there we go. So we just talked about all of these. Proximity, right here. Fence line and rock crusher. Site location of map and or using distance markers. Address air quality issues and the impact of health and quality of life. Speak from your heart, because it will be very easy to write. State the interest that something has jurisdiction to protect. Well, the TCEQ is mandated by the EPA to enforce permittees to comply with these things. All right? So when I was making my statement, I went to the Texas Clean Air Act and pulled the statute right out. Check the statute and rules applicable to that type of permit. Since this is a new source review, there is the opportunity for TCEQ to require additional or more stringent standards. This is the only opportunity that this will happen. It will never happen under a standard permit or any other time. But that is why I asked, because I know TCEQ can do it. That's why I asked. I want fence line monitors. So if you're going to be a good neighbor to Vulcan, why don't you just volunteer to do it? So you kind of put both of them on notice. All right? All right. So, one other big piece for filing affected party status, and this is a big deal. Identify and discuss all nuisance, not just the air nuisances that we talked about, but all nuisance factors that will affect the use, the quality of life, the use, the enjoyment of your property, 24/7 operations. Now, they claim they're not going to operate 24/7, but, you know, that's like believing in Santa Claus. Noise due to blasting and backup beepers. Ask them. If you're going to do this, TCEQ, then we don't want blasting on Sundays, and we only want it from dawn to dusk. Oh, and by the way, we want them to notify us. That's what happens in Hanson with Garden Ridge. We don't want backup beepers. We want strobe lights. All these things you can ask for. Might as well ask for them. Night lighting, push for compliance of night skies. Now, unfortunately, our county does not have that, except for around Camp Bullis. We're quite a ways from Camp Bullis. But, might as well ask for it. If you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it. Yes, sir?
What about pertaining to the bats out of refuge aid?
Yeah, that's another, you can list that as a nuisance, that this air permit is going to be a nuisance factor to the bats. And you need to, figure out how you're going to address that. Now, personally, does that affect you as an affected party?
Yes, because they're insect control.
Yes.
Insect control.
They are impacting a natural resource. Make sense? Now, I am hoping that conversation, I'm hoping Bracken Batcave and Fran Hutchins is going to participate in the contested case, because he did make a public comment. And hopefully he will be there to address the impact of all this light and noise on bats. But yes, it can affect you as an affected person, because say you raise a crop and the bats really take care of some sort of bug that will eat your crop down. And because we are so closely associated with Bracken Bat Cave, you don't have that problem. So find every link that you can. Water availability when your wells are pumped dry. That's why I'm saying you get a baseline now. Yes, sir?
Earlier in the presentation, you said it's not a done deal.
Correct.
And all the discussions that you're making right now seems at mitigating the effect. Are we in a position to stop the quarry period, or we have no chance there? Do we have a chance to stop them from being started?
Well, we have so far. We have so far. I do not know the answer to that, sir. I wish I could unabashedly say that we are to be able to stop this. I don't know. We need to act, in my opinion, I'm acting as if we're gonna make every attempt to stop this. However, we also need to be realists. And if we can't stop it, what are we gonna ask for? So, you raise a very good point, sir, and thank you very much for doing so, because I can understand it being confusing. I cannot assuredly say that we'll be able to stop it. I'm gonna act as if I am.
So can we start presenting rejection, no negotiation, we just don't want it, so is there some?
Well, that's what this is all about right now. That's why you go to contested case and affected party status.
Because when we go to contest, we're giving them options, well, if you do this, we want this, that's like giving them options, we don't really wanna give them options.
Well, you may wanna, if you wanna hold back on those, but have them in the back of your head, that if we have to go to that direction, be my guest. That, you can write it any way that you wish. The gentleman in the picture?
And you were just backing up for a moment when you were talking about taking pictures of your home and then starting to maybe see the hairline cracks through your foundation. When that begins, how do we put that to the side?
You reported to TCEQ. That is your only recourse, unfortunately.
Would you recommend that we put in the letter that we are going to?
Absolutely. We're going to be your world's worst nightmare.
Got it.
Or any other language you want to use. That is why I am saying I'm going to act as if I'm going to do everything in my power to stop this, and so is everybody in this room, and so is all the volunteers that we've been working on this for months. But if we can't, then doggone it, I'm going to ask for some stringent requirements.
Make it so hard on them.
Make it so difficult and expensive.
Right.
Okay,
One more suggestion made.
yes.
Is it within our power to make collection of money? I have a lawyer.
Oh, you just led right in, you right on cue. We're getting ready to go there. Okay, tell you what.
Two questions over here.
I know, but in the interest of time, it is 20 till 8. We haven't even gotten to Q&A. So let me I'm gonna get to your questions, but let me get through this, okay?
Maybe it'll answer some of
And
the questions.
maybe it'll answer some. So
But if you have your question, write it on that little blank piece of paper, so that way you won't forget.
you
your
should
question
have an
for Q&A.
index card with you. Write your questions down. Okay, water quality concerns, especially as the water is rapidly depleted. Flooding. This site sits directly over a 100-year floodplain. I do not know how they are not going to adjust the 100-year floodplain by digging a hole. And by law, you can't adjust the 100-year floodplain. It's against the law. So that is a matter that we have discussed internally of how we're going to go figure out this information. But it just, I don't understand how that can occur. Impact of nuisance factors, enjoyment of your property, dust in your swimming pool, dust in your vegetable garden, yard upkeep maintenance, which disturbs the settle dust, impact on your livestock, bees, impact on your livelihood. If you homeschool, oops, sorry, wrong thing. If you homeschool and you're next to the quarry, and part of your curriculum is that they are outside doing a project, okay? Or the other nuisance factor, right here, these big dump trucks traveling up and down 3009 by all these new schools. So, you get my drift. Real quick, preliminary hearing. Preliminary hearing is where you would be told that you're an affected party. You must be there, or have somebody in your stead say, I'm Sam Elliott today. My name is really Joe Brown, but I'm Sam Elliott today. You've got to be there to know that you're an affected party, and if you are not named an affected party, you can then stand up and read your contested case and affected party documents.
Where will that be?
Here,
Austin. Austin, sorry.
preliminary hearings usually happen locally. Commissioners' hearings are always in Austin. I want to give you just this briefly. I'm not going to go over it in detail, but I want to show you the timelines. This is Anderson Columbia's timelines for their SOA hearing. They had their preliminary hearing on July 24th. Looky here. By August 10th, they had to have turned in additional discovery requests. That is why I'm telling you it happens fast. And this is going to go to the next question. Legal representation. We do not suggest you go into this without legal representation. You're welcome to go this alone, form your own group. But Friends of Dry Canal Creek, who are here tonight, has already hired a legal attorney, an environmental attorney that has been doing this for over 30 years. There's very few of them that only represent the citizens. Most everybody else is industry bound. We vetted 3 attorneys and decided on this gentleman. He is very good. His name is David Frederick. You can look him up on the website. He's going to be representing members of this group. He submitted public comments during our public commenting period to make sure all our bases were covered, in addition to all the comments that we made. So, he is going to be representing the Friends of Dry Canal Creek. Now, that does not preclude you from submitting contested case hearing and affected party documents. Still do that. It is important. So, the legal representation. It is very expensive if you guys have ever hired attorneys to do some work for you. He is telling us it's going to be costing us approximately $200,000 to get us from this point to the end of contested case. That includes expert witnesses, depositions, everything subsumed under that regard to argue in our behalf. So, what we are asking for tonight is that if you wish to be named within the Friends of Dry Canal Creek, there is a form that is outside that basically says you are giving the Friends of Dry Canal Creek and the board of directors who have made this decision to engage this legal counsel in your behalf. But in response to that, we're also going to need money. Free representation is not free representation. You get what you pay for. So, we're asking for people to contribute $1,000. If 200 households contribute $1,000, that will get us to our $200,000 goal. $1,000 is nothing compared to $200,000 if you had to pay for it by yourself. So, I'm putting that out there. I know that that is a heavy weight. It's settled like a lead balloon. But it is something you need to very seriously consider, because we have a lot of confidence in this attorney, and he looked at this presentation before we rolled it out, because I wanted to make sure we were correct and accurate in what we were representing. So, you are welcome to go look him up on his website. It is in the presentation. Please do not call him or email him or text him, because he is not going to respond. If you persist, do you know what a 15-minute phone call or email costs? $75. So please don't spend our money or your money. Contact me directly. My information is right here, because a question you may be asking may be the same question somebody else has asked, and I already have the answer. We will start formulating a Q&A. So for every legal question that is asked, and for every legal answer, we're going to put it out there for you. that you start looking at that first. Okay? The call to action for you all, start working right now on your personalized request for a contested case and affected party. Develop 2 or 3 key issues that are germane specifically to you. And each adult person in the household needs to do this. So Joe and Ann Brown are married. Joe Brown submits one, Ann Brown submits one. Don't do it as a family, do it as individuals, because it spreads the affected party impact much broader. We will continue to offer more training and help. We have already established one-to-one meetings at the Boulevardy Library starting next week and into the following week. We will sit down with you with this template and help you figure out, how do I do this? Come in with what your 3 or 2 issues are, but we will help you. Oh, we know what law that applies to. Let's stick it in here. We want to help you be successful in this and not get overwhelmed or so overwhelmed that you don't do it. All right? So, this will be available. How do you look up the project status? There's the website, there's the basic information. All of this, wrong thing. All of this RN status number, CN status number, sometimes they ask for those numbers. It's all right here. You don't have to go look it up. Here it is. That pertains to this permit alone. So, the rest of the presentation solely has to do with definitions. I'm not going to belabor those. I know that there was a lot of hands up, and I appreciate you letting me get through this. So I want to be cognizant of people's time. So let's just raise hands and see what we got. Yes?
Does a person have to already have submitted comments in this procedure to be eligible for status as an affected person?
Yes. Only in the situation of no direct referral.
Okay.
That's a benefit of direct referral. If you didn't make a comment before the public commenting period was ending on February 27th, and if the direct referral is not made, you don't get to make the request. You are done. But if the direct referral happens, it opens the door to everyone and to every issue. So those are some benefits to direct referral.
What's a direct referral?
A direct referral is the applicant or the executive director says, I want to go directly to SOA. I don't want to give the persons the opportunity to file a contested case or an affected party. I'm going to bypass the commissioners making that decision. I'm going straight to the administrative law judge.
That was on the flow chart.
It's on the flow chart, Dee?
Yeah, I remember that now.
Yes, sir.
It didn't ring a bell.
One thing, this plant is being put in an existing neighborhood. The plant at 1604 and several others were built and the neighborhoods intruded upon them. So this plant is different than any other one that they have used. They are putting it in the neighborhood rather than the neighborhood growing out to them.
Very good point, and that's going to be one of our
And that
arguments.
needs to be notified.
We,
We're being bombarded by
that is,
big business saying, I can do anything.
that's correct. Would somebody mind getting the lights?
I got it.
Because I can't, yeah. Thanks, that's good, thank you. Okay, yeah, and purple?
Has there been any research on how many auto accidents on Highway 46 and FM 3009? What do you call it? Auto accidents, not only just injuries, but actual casualties. That would be something important because of course we're putting a traffic light there at the corner to prevent from that. And we always hear helicopters all the time, airline, coming through.
Right.
So I'm curious to know if that could be part of our.
It can be part of yours, absolutely. We do not have any data in that regard. Let me caution you that you've got to be cognizant of what TCEQ or the SOA judge will consider. And when you look at their list of 50 items, are traffic accidents on a roadway going to meet the level of intensity as something else? So when you think about that, you really want to aim for issues that can be at the top of the list and carry the most weight.
I was just thinking because of the big trucks, you know, the big trucks come
Right.
up and down, and they're gonna cause more accidents if you already have accidents
Right.
without big trucks.
Right. Sorry, next to, you had a question next to her? Oh, I thought I saw your hand. Yes, ma'am.
How do I find out information about prevailing winds and seasons?
Very good question. I just saw Donna walk out, but we are going to post that on our website. So the medical is going to get posted, the prevailing winds. We have that for a year, 10 years data. We've got all of that. So we're going to get it posted on the website. So basically you can take where the crusher is, overlay it, and say, oh, I am 2.5 miles this direction, and the prevailing winds for these months out of the year average 20 miles an hour. We're going to put that on the website. All right, I saw other hands. I want to make sure I get everybody before anybody else. Did I miss anybody that had their hands up? Yes.
Fran, I just have a question. Once we complete the request for contested case hearing, once the actual documentation is completed, much like we completed your, what happens? I mean, we know that there isn't anything scheduled yet, so will you retain this? Should we retain this? And then call to action and say, okay, we need to get all these in, or, how will this?
It will be your responsibility to get it in by the due date. I'm going to have enough to get my own done.
She's not our mother.
I can, and every one of you can go out to the permit, and you can see everybody's comments now. All the comments that were made in public meeting, they are there. All the comments that are to be made for this, they are out there and available to see. So, don't give them to me.
Rebecca, and don't turn them in until the 30-day period, correct?
You turn it in, if my picture is done tomorrow, don't turn it in now because it won't count.
Right, that's what I'm saying, you have to.
Turn it in during the 30-day period.
So there'll be some kind of announcement.
Oh, yes. It can be seen from the rooftops.
Well, we'll let you know.
Yes.
Do it now.
That's right. But get your documents working now. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just letting you know, Jennifer McGovern, I'm here.
Hi, Jennifer.
I have questions about, I'm involved in Sanford, Columbia, so 6 million ton facility, and we have a contested case hearings, Sabrina and I have spoken this week, so I just wanted you to know that it's here.
Thank you. All right. There was other hands. Anybody else I missed? Yes, Ron.
Can I make some comments or just some?
Come on. Absolutely.
Keep going. Is it red light on?
Hello?
There you go. You talk pretty loud.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ron Bigby. I own Castle Avalon, which is directly downwind, right across the road from what's gonna happen. Sabrina noted earlier, my well has already gone dry. I've had to dig another one. I have no guarantee it's not either. Somebody asked about the depth of wells, that was you. The Vulcan well is 973 feet deep. My information is they basically put screening at every aquifer available to them, which is all the way down to Cow Creek, which is our last aquifer. When they suck all the water out, that's going to be it, because they're going to pull it all. They supposedly can pull 150 gallons a minute. I don't know where they're getting that. I was there on that ranch when some test wells were dug for another developer. The wells were pumping about 100 gallons a minute for 30 minutes, and then they fell off to 30 or 40 gallons. They turned down that property because they couldn't find the water. So where the hell are these people going to get the water from? They're going to have to drill a lot more wells than what they've got right now, and they're going to have to put a lot more Somebody has mentioned to me, was it you, Don, that said they were looking at Canyon Lake for possibly getting water?
Well, there's some things going on with the GBRA, Guadalupe Blanco River Authority for interbasin transfers, where the chance to transfer the water through the aquifer rather than funneling pipeline. That's a political nightmare right now, so where it's going.
Well, I don't know how they're gonna get it there because they're gonna have to cross somebody's property that's gonna be affected by them, so that's gonna be really touchy too. I mean, I can see me giving them permission to run a pipeline through my place. I don't think so. The other comment I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna thank, like Sabrina did, all volunteers who do this. This is not easy. This is a lot of work. And I will tell you, $1,000 a household is cheap. I hire lawyers for different things, that's cheap. And it's a good deal. You need to make that happen. If you can't afford an attorney, let me go tell you, go ask one how much it would cost to start this process. It's 10 grand.
Yep.
That's a bargain. So, whatever we can do as a group, you know, I'll do whatever you guys want. But, do everything you can to make this work, because as somebody in the back, I believe that gentleman I was sitting next to, can we stop it? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But we can make it so hard for them to do business that they will think twice about it. They either will do one or two things. Either they'll limit the scope of their activities if we drive them crazy, because they know if they open up more of it, more crushers, more operations, that's going to be that many more complaints they're going to have. And we can be a big enough thorn in their side, then they might decide to let the place go. And that's what we can hope for on worst case. Best case, they don't break ground. But they're not going to give up a $500 million profit, because 80 years of mining rock that they don't have any obligation to restore that property, they're going to pull probably $500 million easy, and if not more. So that's why they're going to fight us tooth and nail. That's why they've already got people checking on what we're doing and how we're doing it, so they'll know how to answer our questions before we get there. And thank you, Sabrina, for giving me 10 minutes.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bob. In regards to the water, just to address the pulling of the water, water is their primary source of dust suppression. So, in period of drought, or the water is not as lucrative as they originally thought, what do you think is going to happen? Dust. That dust is not going to stay in the fence line, and it's going to last longer than 5 minutes in a 30-minute period, or
30 seconds.
30 seconds in a 5-minute period.
If you want to know what that looks like, go down Quarry Road and look what 30 seconds and 5 minutes looks like on the north side of that property. Dust is about this thick over everything that can collect dust. And they're telling me that happened in 30 seconds and 5 minutes? BS. Guess what pictures are going to be on my response?
So yes, when you do response, pictures are dynamite. They tell the story almost better than anything else.
Picture's worth 1,000 words.
So, are there any other questions, any other concerns?
Anything more from Kamal County?
No. Speaking of Comal County, not one word, not one level of effort.
One of the fastest growing counties in the country, and we have that one quarry on the other side.
Yep.
And then we get they.
Not one word, not one level of effort. Yes, sir.
Maybe a couple of billboards saying that Comal County welcomes quarries would be.
Thank you, commissioners.
Look at the officials you reelect.
Yes, look at the officials you re-elect.
Warren County.
Sean?
This lady in the gray?
Did anybody go to the meeting with Kimberly the other night?
Oh, don't even get me started. I went. No. Did not address it at all. Yes, sir.
Talking about Cornell County, our commissioner there for precinct 2, he's running unopposed right now. There's an individual named Zimmerman that had a signature campaign going on. Says he's got enough signatures for it, put it in there to the county judge, and we'll find out one way or the other Friday, I believe, whether or not he's going to be allowed to be on ballot as a writer. So I'll tell you right now, the one we've got right now, Scott, hey, he has done absolutely nothing for us. I really don't know why we're not left with his been over this. He's been really silent on it. And so I'm not sure what Mr. Zimmerman's other agenda items are.
Mr. Zimmerman,
So I've read it.
raise your hand.
He's right there. I'm sorry you couldn't hear. What he was suggesting was that he was running unopposed. There's members of this group that worked tirelessly to get sufficient signatures to allow Mr. Zimmerman to be a write-in candidate. We believe that we exceeded that goal. They are verifying all the addresses to make sure they're valid addresses and valid voters. We should find out Friday that we will have a write-in candidate against Commissioner Hogg. So, it's not meant to be a political rally. I wasn't going to mention it just because we hadn't heard yet, but they have remained silent, and that is very discouraging that there has not been a level of effort of support and willingness to take care of his constituents in this regard. All right, any other questions or concerns or announcements? All right, thank you all so much for your time tonight, for being here. I'm sorry that not other people were not here. We will be having those little mini sessions, so if you know somebody that was not able to make it tonight, drag them with you, because we have got to have 1,000 contested case affected party requests. Got to have 1,000. Yes, Casey? Yes, it is going to, all of it's going to be posted on the website. And all the dates for the sessions, we'll get all that posted.
Also, too, I'm sure about
If you all are interested in signing up for legal representation, it is out at the t-shirt desk.